Welcome to My Designed Life.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Wholepreneur Summit, where we've brought experts from all over the world to support your mind, body, spirit, and business. I'm your host, Tanya MFK, and we are going to dive into goals. We're going to go over the anatomy of a successful goal, how to uncover your true motivation, how to create an environment to win, and creating a plan for potential roadblocks. We'll also briefly discuss a little bit about tracking your progress and the compound effect. This is a workshop, so you need to be ready to work. If you sign up for the summit, then you have the worksheets that were emailed to you, so make sure you have those handy. If you're not signed up, then just grab a pen and paper, and then later on, go to tanyamfk.com and sign up for the summit. So if everyone's ready, we are going to jump right in. Right out of the gate, what I want you to do is think about one goal that you have. And while you're thinking about that, we're going to discuss the anatomy of a successful goal. So the first thing that we have is the what. What is your goal? And I mean your specific goal. Lose weight, make more money is not a goal. How much weight do you want to lose? How much money is more? $1? $100,000? You need to get super specific. Something that can be tracked and measured. Something that allows you to understand your progress. Then we have the when. You've heard me say it a million times. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But someday doesn't exist, and neither does one day. So if you want it to happen in real time, you need to give it a real date. And that means end of year doesn't cut it. Is that December 31st? Give it a date. Then we have the why. Why is this goal important to you? And I mean what is really underneath it. Like, you want to be healthier? Why? We are going to dig into this and uncover your deepest motivation using one of those worksheets today. And then the next component is the how. What is your plan to get to this goal? You're going to need to sort out some very clear steps to see how you're going to get there. And then we have the action. Having the plan isn't enough. The how plan is what you have, but what specific actions need to be taken to follow that plan? If the how was through workouts, the action is when we say what the workout is. You know, is it sit-ups? Is it running? How many times, right? We're getting really specific to the action that needs to be taken so we can follow that plan. Where you are now is a reflection of your previous actions you have taken. So what do you need to do to allow you to take these new steps to get to your goal? And lastly, we will need to analyze. That's the last one there, analyze. We tend to get really gung-ho about a goal in the beginning, and we don't take a step back to look at the big picture. Is this goal and plan in line with my vision and values I've identified? For example, if you've determined that you value family and that spending time with them is your priority this year, and then you set a goal to travel 5 new places every month, is that in line with your values? So each year in our sessions, we review our values and visions for the year. So if that isn't something you've looked at in a while, this is a great time to do that before you dive into choosing your goals. It is important to make sure that your goals align with your long-term vision. So grab your worksheet and we're going to walk through one of the goals together. So your worksheet that you're going to look at here is the goal and roadblock plan. You'll see this has several names there. So if you're looking at it there, it's not the environment to win one, it's the other one. All right. So you're going to get to the box that says goal 1, and you're going to enter your top goal there. Now you can still be vague in that box because we're going to break it down into each box below. So the next section you'll see there is the what. Right? So now you've written down your goal. You already had it in your mind, right? So you wrote down your goal. And now it's the what. This is where we get specific. Lose weight, make more money. How much? Travel more? Where and how often? More time with family? How much time? How often? This is where we need to, again, get really, really specific. Okay? To give you just a bit of time there, we are going to kind of run through this, but I want you to really be trying to fill these out as we go along. Get specific. Then we're going to move on to the when box. This is your deadline. When does this need to be accomplished? When do you want to look back and see that you've progressed from where you are? What date will you see as when this becomes your new normal? So I want you to get very specific and fill that out. I mean, a real date, calendar, numbers, Wednesday, I want really, really clear in there. When is that by? 3 years, even if it's 3 years from now. When in 3 years? April in 3 years? December of 3 years? Get specific. And then we're going to move to the why. It is really important for us to uncover what our true motivation is for our goal. And often it's not what we think it is. We may find that our desire to fit into our skinny jeans and feel confident comes down to setting a better example for our family to make sure that they avoid diseases that have been in your family for years. And that, when you can hold on to something like that, it is much stronger than any motivation of skinny jeans. So we are going to go 7 levels deep today. So in that box that says, why is that important to you? You are going to write your first knee-jerk reaction, why you want to hit this goal. So this is where fit into my skinny jeans can go. So if your goal is lose more weight, your what has gotten specific to the 10 pounds or whatever it is. And then we're going to the why. And that first level can be fit into my skinny jeans. That's fine. It can go into that first box right there. But then we're going to pretend that there is a toddler next to us and he's in the why stage. So he's going to keep asking you why. So looking at your skinny jean answer, he's going to ask, why is fitting into your skinny jeans important to you? Maybe it's not, but you might just say why. Why is fitting your skinny jeans important to you? So in that next box, I want you to write why that first answer was important. Why is it important to you? Whatever you wrote there, look at that and then go, well, why is that important to me? Why does that matter? And you are going to keep doing that in each box. Every new answer, you're going to ask, why is that important to you? So do that now. Go ahead and work through that. I'm going to chat a little bit as you work through that. But just keep every response, just nag yourself. Because this is how we unveil what's really deep down inside. And we can find a truly compelling reason deep within us that we can hold on to drive us towards this goal. This is the thing that keeps us going when we feel like giving up. The desire to change is one of the most important factors in goal setting, but it is not enough to have that desire just once. Desire for change must be maintained throughout the process, and that is what motivation really is. And that is why we need to define our true motivator so it can keep us going when we just don't feel like it. And now, as you're going through that, and it may take you longer, this can be really, really deep sometimes. When you get to that bottom of the list, you're going to see a big box there that says, kind of proclaims your why, like the ultimate why. And so right there is where I want you to put what that deepest motivation for your goal is. If you have that now, feel free to share it. Sometimes it can be very, very personal, and that's okay. No need to share it. But that is the thing that you're going to hold on to. That is the thing that when it gets tough, when you start questioning it, that you are going to go, this is why I'm doing it. I got to remember that this is ultimately why I'm doing that. Okay. So you'll see on the worksheet that you have space to do this for other goals as well. When you're done here, you can take time to go and do that on your own. In our paid workshop, we go through all of this together. But right now, for the sake of time, you can learn how to do the one goal, and then you can repeat that for your next goals. So if you want more support, then definitely join us in one of our workshops. But so now that you've identified the goal, it's time for us to look at what can trip us up. And the truth is, as we move towards our goals, we will hit obstacles. So instead of being surprised, we're going to anticipate them and make a plan. This is called for the sake of this show, I'm going to say the oh shoot plan. is what we'll call it. If we don't have a plan to get past the roadblocks, then we are going to revert to what we've done in the past. And what we've done in the past is what's gotten us here. So if we're trying to move to another place, then we need another reaction. So in this practice, we're going to look at the one goal that you've set for yourself. And we're going to identify potential roadblocks from anywhere from our environment, certain people, teams, specific situations or events. By doing this, we are training our brain to perform a different reaction than we have in the past. So the first section, as you'll see on this worksheet, and again, if you don't have it, that's fine. The first section is environmental obstacles, right? So things that are in your environment that can be a potential roadblock or obstacle to this goal. Maybe that's the office break room. That can be a place of temptation, which for many of us right now is our own home kitchen. So what things are in your environment that can cause you to trip up? You'll see we also have, as another thing to look at and evaluate, is team or people. So these are up as obstacles, right? So there can be certain people in our lives that make it difficult for us to accomplish our goal. Who are they? Let's identify them. Let's think about that. Where do those exist? And then the next area of our environment that we're going to look at is the situational obstacles and event obstacles. Are there certain specific circumstances that make hitting your goal difficult, or perhaps events that can pull you down? So for some of you, those might be the same thing. For others, they can vary. So as you identify these obstacles, you're going to go through each item and write them down. So as you start to look at these different areas that I just mentioned, right? Environment, people, team, events, situations, you are going to ask yourself, what usually happens or can happen when I encounter this obstacle? So if we're looking at the break room situation, right? We're looking at the break room environment. What usually happens when you encounter the obstacle? Perhaps the break room might always have cake. And it might be, well, if it's there, I eat the cake. Or perhaps it's people, and that when you're around them, that's when you smoke that cigarette. So you can identify what those obstacles are in those different environments. And then you're going to identify, what will I do instead? So if you go, this is where it happens, this is what usually happens, and then make a decision now. In that moment, what are you going to do instead? But that is not enough. After we identify what I'm going to do instead, you're going to say, how will I make sure that I will be able to do this instead thing, right? So you can say, what I'm going to do instead. You might quickly answer, I won't eat the cake. Okay. So how are you going to make sure that you'll be able to not eat the cake? So whether that is avoiding the situation or eating a carrot instead, how are you going to do that? You will have to have the carrot handy, right? So you're going to have to think about how you're going to make that new option happen. And then on the list, the next section you'll see there is, what action can I take now to help me in this situation? Perhaps it's as simple as putting a carrot pack together. You're like, I'm going to pack that carrot bag right now. So after you evaluate these, you're also going to say, well, what can I do right now to work towards this thing? So we are just going through those roadblocks. We're looking through all the areas that we can be tripped up. We are being clear and honest with ourselves about what can really happen when we get to those places. And then we're going to decide beforehand what we're going to do instead. And then we're going to make sure that we're taking the actions to support that. Because our mind doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction, right? That's why we can have emotional responses to movies. Even though we can say, I know it's a movie, your brain's watching it. It's like, this is so sad. And you're totally crying. Okay. So when we can see these situations and we can practice a different reaction, our brain starts to get used to that as our norm, even though we've only been playing it out in our head. And so as we do this, as we prepare for it, we are really preparing for battle. We are rehearsing our actions, even if only in our mind. So when those things happen, we are we are much better equipped to actually make the decision that we want. Because like I said before, what we've done now is what we've done in the past is what's gotten us where we are now. So we know that doesn't work. That's why we're working towards change. So that is our first reaction though. So we need to replace it with this new thing. And let's be honest, we need a little rehearsal. So this practice alone of writing this out on the sheet is hugely beneficial to making those changes as you are moving towards these goals. And then as that last box that you'll see there is, what is the benefit of having this plan? And this is really where you can remind yourself why this matters and what the purpose is. It is something, like I said, your brain can hold on to when you experience this roadblock. And, that is why 90% of people don't follow through with their resolutions. They don't have this. We think, oh, I'm going to set this goal and I'm really motivated and it's just going to totally work because of my sheer willpower. But 92% of people don't actually make it through. So having this a plan allows you to be part of that 8% that actually make it to that finish line. So once you go through that, we have one last thing to assess to make sure that we are ready to go, and that is setting our environment to win. So that is the second worksheet. If you go ahead, if you have that, grab that worksheet. Again, if you don't, it's fine. We can just write it out as we're here. So when we get ready and we create an environment to support our goals, we don't need to rely on willpower. Because willpower is really, it's like a muscle. And when we keep using it and pushing it over and over, like putting the cake on the table and like, I'm not going to eat that cake. I'm not going to eat that cake. I'm not going to eat it. And you're just staring at that cake. You're staring at that cake. That muscle starts to get weak. And after use, we're going to fall back on our goals. Like it's tired. And that cake ends up right in the mouth. Okay. So we need to create an environment that matches our future self that we are trying to create. It is really key in succeeding in our goals. So like I said, grab that worksheet. And as we look at it, we are going to do a couple things. We are going to scan kind of some general places, and then we're going to scan per goal. So we'll go through this. So we're going to look at your home, your computer, your phone, your routines, your community, your people, and your habits. And we are going to ask, are there distractions, temptations, invaders, or time wasters in and then those places we just listed, in my workspace? I didn't mention that one earlier, but workspace, in my workspace. So are there distractions that are in your workspace? Are there temptations? Are there invaders? Are there time wasters in your workspace? Are there distractions, temptations, invaders, and time wasters in your home? A lot of us have that there. It could be the TV. It could be, who knows? It could be all kinds of things, right? And then this one's a big one too. Are there distractions, temptations, invaders, time wasters on my computer? Right? Perhaps you have, this could even be like where you've subscribed to a fun kind of thing that is purposely distracting, where they're sending you fun stuff and then you find yourself reading it and it doesn't actually give any benefit. It is taking time away from this thing you really want to do. So if you say that you want to have time to play guitar and you're going, well, yeah, but I'm using this fun article to decompress, what is the goal that you really want? So if that is something there, it's time to unsubscribe, right? So are any of these things on your computer? And very similarly so on your phone, right? They kind of end up becoming one and the same. But again, they have different things, right? Our desktop has a whole other host of things, and our phone, apps, all those, right? Distractions, temptations, invaders, or time wasters on your phone. How about your routines? Are there any things that you do on a regular basis that actually are becoming one of these items? The distractions, temptations, invaders, time wasters. I'm going to just keep saying it until you have it just in your head, in your routines. How about your community? whether that is your community at whole of, your actual neighborhood, if we look at that kind of old fashioned way, or the people that we have around us, our circles, right? Are there any of those things there? This can be from friends that no longer maybe align with where you're trying to go, toxic family, anything like that, something really to identify. And again, it could maybe not be as extreme as that. It could just be that they're invaders and time wasters sometimes. Maybe you're politically arguing with an uncle too much and you're like, you know what, it's not time for that. Love them, but I got to stop that. Okay. So, and then really the same thing. So community, people you're surrounded by, and people you're surrounded by, again, sometimes that's not of choice. That can be people in your workspace, on your commute, depending on your life situation, right? So that can be, and you kind of fit with what makes sense for you in your life. And then of course, habits. Are there habits that you have that are distractions, temptations, invaders, time wasters? Could be that scrolling, or anything else, okay? Now, once you identify that, you're going to ask, what is within my control to change? Now, it's easy to see what you can't change, right? But it's more important to identify what you can. So it's really easy for us to go, yeah, but I can't do anything about that. And you're like, okay, so what can you change? This becomes a scavenger hunt, right? This becomes the other way where you're like, okay, I can't change that. Okay, so what can I? That's where you win. That's where you win, is by identifying the things you can. So if you can't change the cake in the break room, what can you change? Can you change showing up there? Can you change when you go there? Maybe there's a nice colleague who's willing to go get the thing that you need from the break room so you don't have that temptation. Again, you need to be able to get creative, and it doesn't mean that I'm not saying you have to figure out the complete answer, but give yourself some space and time to ideas to look and go, okay, can't do that. What can I change? What can I? All right. So I don't want to hear the list of what you can't do. We're going to look at what you can do. All right. Then ask yourself, what can I remove? Perhaps it is as simple as a time wasting app on your phone or a habit that isn't serving you. So what can I remove? It's a good question. And then just like, it's kind of like a diet, what can I remove? We start looking like, oh, sugar, cake, all those things. I always mention cake. It's funny. I don't even love cake that much, but it's a universal thing to understand. So I can remove the cake, and then we start to get in this place of like feeling deprived. But then we want to go back and say, well, what can I add, right? And you're like, well, I can't have cake, but you know what? I can have more of this, more of that. It's really a nice mind shift. So this is another place that you can do that in your life as you're looking at what you can remove from your environment. Also ask yourself what you can add. Perhaps it's, looking at the app example of taking the app off your phone. Maybe there's a fun productivity or health app that you can add to your phone. Maybe you're trying to meditate. They have like a meditation app or a better snack alternative that you can put into your cabinet, right? So after we look at what we move, let's see what we can add. What can we bring in more of, right? And then this is a really, really important one as we're looking. And remember, this whole thing is about moving towards our goals, about trying to get to the things that we say we want to do, that oftentimes and not, just motivation alone hasn't gotten us there. So this one is to ask yourself, what conversations need to be had? Now, often when we're trying to create a new future, there are some people that need to understand our vision and goals. Oftentimes they even are affected by it. And so it's really important that we are mindful, considerate, and have conversations. Perhaps it is telling the girlfriends that wine and French fry night isn't an option for you anymore, or letting your spouse know that you won't be eating your Twinkies anymore, so they don't need to buy them the next time they're at the store. right? So you can make this decision and go, I'm not doing that. But if you haven't told anyone, and maybe someone's like wants to be nice and they're like, oh, look, I got your favorite candy, that puts you in a tough predicament, right? Because you're like, a lot of times you're like, well, I didn't want to make them feel bad. So, right? And that's right in there. So have these conversations. Some of these conversations may be much more serious than Twinkies and candy bars. But ask yourself, what conversations need to be had? If there is something you're significantly trying to change in your life, what conversations need to be had to help you support, get that support that you need through that? Or what conversations need to be had that perhaps need to change something or move something or cut something out? So again, if you were trying to make a big change and you have a family around, if something affects them, this is a discussion that needs to be had, or you're going to find yourself in a place of resistance, and you're going to let that be the thing that will keep you from the goal. So what conversations need to be had in order for you to create an environment that's set to win? So then as you've identified these things, just like always, ask yourself, what immediate actions can you take? What immediate action? So you've written these ideas, you've thought about this. What immediate action can you take right now to get this ball rolling? So let's say even in the conversation part that you're going, well, I can't have that conversation right now. No, but you probably could call or message or something that person and say, hey, I need to chat with you about something, right? That kind of locks you in. That gets you moving to get the ball rolling. You could, if you're going to be adding something in, the action that you take could be doing some research on the different apps or workout equipment or anything else that is you're going to be bringing in. All right. So what can you do right now? And I mean, like in this moment, like when you're done with this worksheet, like look at immediate, because that's where our progression happens, right? Is when we just start taking that imperfect action. So what can you do right now to get this ball rolling? And then lastly, what will you do if things aren't working as expected or as needed? So if after all this effort, things are not going well, what are you going to do? What is your regroup and reassess plan? So determine that now. So you have a plan of action, some sort of course correction instead of giving up. So if you see yourself and you're like, okay, I set this up, but they're not listening, and this isn't agreeing, or this isn't happening. Again, we're putting our mind in a set to know what to do when things don't go our way. And let's be honest, like we should kind of expect that. That's how we are where we are now. So it hasn't gone this way. It hasn't worked out this way. So if after all these things, what do you do? And this is going to, again, keeping us from giving up. So when we can go, okay, if all of this isn't, then I'm going to need to, maybe it's an extreme action. Like I'm going to have to leave for a month to do this thing. Or I am going to, maybe you're trying like a half version of something. And you're like, I'm going to have to go full version if this doesn't work. I'm going to have to, do that full, I'm going to have to get the trainer. Like if I'm not sticking to the home workouts and I'm not doing it, that's when I'm going to decide that I have to get the trainer. And give yourself that, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with them, but there used to be these books when I was a kid called Choose Your Own Adventure. And you would read the book, and then and not the book, but like you'd read a chapter. And at the end of the chapter, it'd get to a place and it would say, and then Jimmy came to a door. And then it would say, does Jimmy open the door? Go to page 25. Does Jimmy not open the door? Go to page 32. And you would make this decision and then like make that plan. You go, okay, I'm going to not open the door. I'm going to open the door. So what the best part of this is that more times than not, when you're making this plan, especially because this is when you're motivated, you're making it, your reassess plan isn't, well, then I'll give up. You're way more motivated to go, if that doesn't happen, if that doesn't work, then I'm going to have to do this. And you've already got this kind of plan B, this next step, this elevation working for you. So you can go through this goal by goal. So you'll see on the worksheet there, if you have the worksheet, each goal, you go through your general environment and you assess all of those items that we talked about, and you go, what in my general environment needs to be changed to work towards this goal? But then you can start to look at goal by goal. So one goal might be specifically about, a diet. I always go back to diet. It just seems the easiest to me. So you look at the diet, and then you're going to go through these next set of assessment questions that I have. But your other goal might be a work-related goal. Again, so as you've scanned your general environment, you also want to look goal by goal. And these are the questions that you're going to ask goal by goal. So again, think of these questions in two totally different things. Like, again, say you have a business goal about building your website, and then you have your diet goal. And you're going to ask yourself, for the diet goal, what equipment do I need to work towards this goal? Okay, so again, that could be equipment, could be the food that you need. It could be actual workout equipment, anything in between there, right? So what equipment do I need to work towards this goal? And then for the business goal, when you're looking at a website, what equipment do I need? Perhaps it is a certain program or software, the domain name, whatever that is. What equipment do I need to work towards this goal? And then how do I get the tools that I need? Right? So is it a matter of just going and buying them? Is it research that needs to be done? So you're really starting to break down the things. So again, in a weight loss situation, you might go, well, I know I need some home workout, but then I have to decide which workout, so I know what tools I need. So now you're breaking it down in some action steps. Same thing with the website. How do I get the tools? Oh, well, I don't even know. I'm going to need to call my tech friend. So now we're looking at some action points, right? First step, make phone call. This first step, look on Amazon, whatever that is. All right. Then asking yourself per goal, each goal, what hazards exist in my environment that can throw me off my goal? Now, again, we have reviewed that in a general sense. This just allows you to get a little more kind of fine-tooth comb going through that of going, okay, well, what specifically could throw me off my goal for this, throw me off this, weight loss goal? What specifically throw me off this website goal? If I'm getting overwhelmed, or if it costs, the domain I want costs $3,000 and that's out of my budget, then that could be it. So again, we're kind of seeing what those roadblocks are, and we're just going on them per goal. And then this is where we get powerful and creative. How can I remove them or work around them? Right? So if there's a possibility, say, well, then this is just what I'll do and I can take care of that, or perhaps a workaround. So let's say with a domain that's out of your budget. If you can't remove that by making the purchase, then how do you work around it? And this is where you might have to get creative about some different domain names and revisit, the concept, or maybe there's a redirect or things like that. Same with the weight loss. How can I remove this issue or work around it? So it's going to a wedding, and that's going to be the thing that can throw you off your goal, and you can't remove the wedding. And maybe you can. Maybe it's like, I don't really need to go. I'm like a second, third, twice removed next door neighbor cousin. I don't really need to go. Maybe they'll be happy that they have extra space. Or again, work around them. Maybe you're eating your food before you go to the wedding, so you're not tempted by the beautiful buffet or whatever it is, right? So again, how can I remove them or work around them? And then what can I add to my environment to help me towards my goal? Right? So what can I add to my environment to help me towards my goal? So you can, any things that are supportive. Perhaps it's getting that, blender that you wanted, or perhaps it is setting something up in your office that allows you to write down quickly ideas you have about building that website. So what can you add to your environment to help you towards your goal? Even calming things or music, anything, just give yourself that space to think about, like, what would help me if it was around me to get to this goal? And then when will I prepare these things? So it could be something as simple as having that gym bag ready before you needed to go to the gym. So can you add a bag that's always open with the gym stuff in your environment? When will you get that ready? When will you do it? And again, this is just about that clarification. This is about the nitty gritty, right? This is the stuff that all the fun goal articles aren't talking about. They're telling you the SMART goals, make sure it's, measurable, attainable, all of those things. And that's great. But when that motivation leaves, what do you have? What happens when these roadblocks come? What happens when you get overwhelmed? And that is why going through these things, finding that motivation, finding that strength and things to hold on to and processes that stay around you, that is why that is so powerful to bring you beyond just the anatomy of the goal, right? So this is how we prepare for success. This is how we support ourselves to get to where we want to go. This is about having a real honest conversation with yourself and identifying why you haven't gotten where you want to go yet. Like really. And that's the thing. Like, we have to really look and take that extreme responsibility. We are products of our environment. Now, we're not stuck to that. We are not stuck in our circumstances, but we absolutely are. If you haven't read Bruce Lipton's book, Epigenetics, it's not the name of the book, Biology of Belief. Thank you. I knew it was going to come to me. There is a lot of science behind how we are parts of our environment, what happens to us, that, it's not just this, that's just the way I am. It's a lot about our input and what's around us. We all are continually adapting and changing, and we can. The only times that we don't is if we're doing something to hold ourselves there. And a lot of times that can be our environment. So if that's not something you've checked out, and you don't want to take my word for it, you feel stuck, like, look at the science. There's a lot of science. Epigenetics is the science behind it. That is Biology of Belief, Bruce Lipton. And there's some other book, Personality Isn't Permanent, that's coming out soon. That is another one that is amazing, that will teach you how to get unstuck. But with the environment, my grandma used to always say, if you hang out in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. And that's because willpower isn't enough. We need to put ourselves in a place to thrive. Even if they're just little things that we can control, we need to set that environment to win. And we need to take responsibility. So take your time to go through each of these worksheets and set your clear and concise goals, knowing your deepest motivation, having a plan for your roadblocks, and a blueprint for an environment to succeed in. Because, this is going to be the thing. This will be the time that you will see yourself succeed. So like I said, we do live workshops for this, where we complete it all together. And then all types of other sessions, like morning routines, managing your daily schedules for sanity, life vision, as well as the free monthly planning sessions and virtual work marathons. So if that sounds like the support that you need, lots of our resources are free. We have a few paid workshops and items there as well. But make sure to go check out the website at TanyaMFK.com to see if there's a way that we can support you. So today was a little short, but there was a lot to take in, and I think you have that worksheet there that gives you plenty more to work on and to filter out. I do suggest that you don't go with more than like 3 to 5 goals to look at, especially over maybe the course of the year, to really keep focus, to really make sure that you can really stick to it. When we start to get gung-ho and are excited, we also kind of overextend ourselves. And I think as we are all in a unique place in the world right now, this may be a place of inspiration for a lot of us, inspiration to make a lot of changes. And that's amazing. Keep a list of some of these aspirations. And in our planning sessions, one of the things we do is we actually regularly check in with our goals to see if they're changing. Those are free sessions. Our next one's actually coming up April 30th. So you want to come and join that. This is a great place for you to, if you're gung-ho and you're like, but I want to do more than 3 to 5, you can come in and we can see, you'll have time to assess. It's a work that we do together, but you do the work. We follow, you give the time, you answer the questions. But you'll go and you can assess if your goals are changing and it's time to introduce something else. That's a very healthy place for you to look at that and to grow that. So this is really all about you and creating the life that you want. So I highly suggest going through these steps, going through these practices. That is everything that we do is focused around that kind of action, that kind of process. And like I said, there's all types of resources. You'll start to learn if you follow me more, almost everything that we talk about has a worksheet to go with it, because theory is not enough. We need to take that knowledge and mix it with action. And that's when it becomes wisdom. That's when it becomes part of us. That's when we live it. That's when we are designing the life that we want and we're accomplishing what we want. So thank you all for showing up to create your best life and your best business. So as you know, this summit is free. And if you enjoyed what you learned here today, we would love your appreciation in the form of likes, shares, comments, and follows. And if you haven't already, please check out our weekly show, My Design Life, where we test methods and habits to create a life and business you love. You can connect with me at Tanya MFK at My Design Life Show on Facebook and Instagram, and learn more about our workshops, courses, and coaching at tanyamfk.com. So remember, your someday starts today. Make it the best. I'm Tanya MFK, and I'll see you next time.
Welcome to My Designed Life.